Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, The Lost Planeswalker. And today is the 5th and final Fallout spoiler video for the Fallout Commander decks. If you have watched all these videos, I really just want to say thank you so much. This has been the most successful spoiler season I've ever received. I got a lot of comments, and I just really do appreciate, if you watched one or more of my videos. And if this is the first, well, maybe you want to go check out some of those other cards, please do so. But I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. It has just been amazing, and it has really shown. So thank you. But today is the last one, and we just have a couple of cards here. I think we have 15 new cards, 20 or so reprints, and some lands. So let's get right in it by talking about the brand new cards. So first off, we have Arcade Ganon, Assaultron Dominator, and Automated Assembly Line. So Arcade Ganon is 2 white-blue legendary creature human doctor. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card, put a quest counter on Arcade Ganon. For Auld Lang Synth, I believe, once during each of your turns, you may cast an artifact or human spell from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to the number of quest counters on Arcade Ganon. Wow, this is a really cool card. Obviously, being able to cast stuff from your graveyard is great, but blue doesn't really have too much of that. We had some flashback, maybe we have being able to play it this turn, but just being able to play stuff from your graveyard is not something that does all the time. So maybe filling your deck with some other quest counter cards to put on this would be a really cool strategy in order to cast bigger stuff from your graveyard. Assaultron Dominator, 1 in a red, artifact creature robot. When Assaultron Dominator enters battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever an artifact creature you control attacks, you may pay an energy. If you do, put your choice of a +1/+1 counter, first strike, or trample counter on that creature. This is an all-star creature. Honestly, being able to put +1/+1 trample, first strike on a creature is super powerful, and just to be able to do that for 1 energy is great. So I could actually see this being pretty playable, not only in Commander, but a lot of other formats that are legacy-wise, because you just get 2 energy for playing this. So yeah, this is a very cool card. And Automated Assembly Line, 1 in a white artifact. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get energy. Pay 3 energy, create a tapped 3/3 colorless robot artifact creature token. This is cool. I mean, I think honestly it's probably only going to work really well in an energy deck, because you have to attack every turn that you have this on the battlefield in order to get that energy and deal combat damage. So really, I think an energy deck is where this is going to work. But if you can just generate a ton of energy, you can just make a ton of creatures with this card. So next up, we have Behemoth of Vault 1, Brotherhood Scribe, and Brotherhood Vertibird. Behemoth of Vault 1 is a 6-mana artifact creature robot with trample. When Behemoth of Vault 0 enters the battlefield, you get 4 energy. When Behemoth of Vault 0 dies, you may pay an amount of energy equal to target non-land permanent mana value. When you do, destroy that permanent. This is a pretty cool effect. I don't think this really is a great card outside of an energy-based deck, but you can get some additional value on the way out by being able to pay some energy to remove something that's bothering you on the board. So that's really great. Brotherhood Scribe is 1 in a white creature human artificer with Metalcraft. Tap, you get an energy counter. Activate only if you control 3 or more artifacts. Whenever you get 1 or more energy during your turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is a cool little buff lord sort of card, being able to just generate energy by tapping this or in another way and then just buffing up your entire board is a pretty sick creature here. Again, this is another good card outside of an energy based deck, because you can create energy using this, and having 3 or more artifacts really isn't that hard anymore. So very cool. And Brotherhood Vertibird, 3 generic artifact vehicle flying. Brotherhood Vertibird power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, crew 2. Now this is a strong card. I can see this card being played in a lot of decks, because that is super strong. I mean, there's times where very early on in the game you have 6, 8, 10 artifacts. So this is a 10/4 with flying that you just crew for 2. That seems incredibly powerful. So next up here, we have Electro Siphon, expert level safe, Paladin, Dancy, Steel Maverick. Electro Siphon is blue red instant counter target spell. You get an amount of energy equal to its mana value. This is a pretty good counter spell. I think that, again, this is one of those counter spells you're only going to be playing in an energy deck, but it is pretty good in that manner. You're paying an additional red, but you're able to generate a ton of energy if your opponents are casting something pretty big. Expert level safe is 2 generic mana for an artifact. When expert level safe enters the battlefield, exile the top 2 cards of your library face down. 1 in tap. You and target opponent each secretly choose 1, 2, or 3. Then those choices are revealed. If they matched, sacrifice expert level safe, and put all cards exiled with it into their owner's hands. Otherwise, exile the top card of your library face down. Oh, okay, very interesting. So the more you get wrong, the more cards get exiled face down, but then you have a chance to get even more cards when you get it correct. So you have a 1 in 3 shot of matching. So I like this card. I mean, I think this is just a fun time card. I don't think this necessarily is super broken in any way, but I can see this being kind of a fun thing throughout the game if, you know, you and an opponent just keep missing and your pile keeps getting bigger and bigger and you finally get it. It could be a big turning point, but that's not necessarily going to happen. So that's kind of cool. And Paladin, Dancy, Steel Maverick, 2 and a white, legendary artifact creature, Synth Knight. Vigilance and Lifelink. Exile, Paladin, Dancy, Steel Maverick. Each creature you control that's an artifact or human gains indestructible until end of turn. This is an effect we love to see on Magic cards, and in particular they did fix it by you being able to recur this every turn by making it exile. You know, think of a selfless spirit in this way, giving everything indestructible, but this particularly only gives artifacts or humans. So I can see this fitting into a lot of decks, but I think it is a little limiting, and because you can't get it back, you know, decks that care about recurring creatures are also going to kind of pass this by. Next up, we have Robo Brain Warmind, Sentrybot, and Synth Eradicator. So Robo Brain Warmind is 3 and a blue artifact creature robot. Robo Brain Warmind's power is equal to the number of cards in your hand. When Robo Brain Warmind enters battlefield, you get an amount of energy counters equal to the number of artifact creatures you control. Whenever Robo Brain Warmind attacks, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, draw a card. This is a pretty interesting card. Again, I think this probably only works too much in an energy deck, but there's a lot of interesting clauses here that maybe you can take advantage of in a certain situation. Sentrybot is 4 and a white artifact creature robot with flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature attacking you. When Sentrybot enters battlefield, you get energy for each creature attacking you, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I like this guy. I think that this is a cool flashy creature. It gives you pretty good amount of value, and then back on your turn, you're able to use that energy you generated to buff up your entire team for the next round of combat. So I like this guy. I think he's probably pretty useful outside of this deck as well. And Synth Eradicator, 2 and a red, artifact creature Synth Soldier with haste. Whenever Synth Eradicator attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may get 2 energy counters. If you don't, you may play that card this turn. Pay 3 energy. Synth Eradicator deals 3 damage to any target. Pretty cool effect. I think that this is sort of an upgraded effect of most exile cards because you get some energy off of it if that card isn't any good. So I like that effect, and I think it's probably pretty powerful in an energy deck in general. But also being able to deal 3 damage to any target is pretty powerful as well. Next up, we have Synth Infiltrator, the Pridwen Steel Flagship, and lastly, Vault 13 Dweller's Journey. So Synth Infiltrator is 3 blue artifact creature Synth Improvise, meaning that your artifacts can help cast this spell. You may have Synth Infiltrator enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a Synth artifact creature in addition to its other types. This might be one of the most powerful clone cards we've gotten in a while, because honestly, you can use your artifacts to pay the 3 generic mana and then just cast it for 2 blue mana. In addition, it copies a card on the battlefield, not just one creature you control, meaning you can copy some of your opponent's best stuff for just 2 blue mana. This is a pretty cool card, and I think you're going to see this in a lot of decks outside of these precons. So very cool clone spell. The Pridwen Steel Flagship, I got no idea how to say that. It's 4 white legendary artifact vehicle with flying. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white human knight creature token with this creature gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under control this turn. Crew 2. This is a great card. This static ability is quite powerful. Being able to make a bunch of 2/2s that just get bigger whenever an artifact enters is great. Now, you do have to have non-token artifacts enter in order to make these 2/2s, but if you're playing a mono white artifact deck, or, you know, Azorius or whatever, you know, you're just making a ton of artifacts, this is a pretty good card. In addition, for Crew 2, you get a 6/6, you know, vehicle with flying, so that's also very nice. So awesome card here. And our last card, new card I should say, is Vault 13 Dweller's Journey. 3 and a white, 1 for each player, exile up to 1 other target enchantment or creature that player controls until Vault 13 leaves the battlefield. Saga Sage 2, you gain 2 life in Scry 2, and Saga Stage 13, return 2 cards exiled with Vault 13 to the battlefield under their owner's control, and put the rest on the bottom of their owner's library. I'm not as big a fan of this card. Sadly, this being the last card isn't a big to-do, but it only really works that well if you have a lot of things exiled with this card, meaning you're going to have this on the battlefield when all 3 opponents are playing, because if you just have 2 or 1, that third Saga isn't really going to do much for you. You're just going to return them their stuff, whereas if you had 3 people playing, you only have to return 2 of the things you exiled with this to those players. So not as great of a card. I probably wouldn't play this, honestly, in a lot of decks because it just doesn't do a lot. But next up, we have the reprints and lands. But before we get there, I just want to say, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, please do so. All next week, I'm going to be doing Commander deck upgrade guides for all the decks that came out. And in addition to that, I'm going to be doing new Commander decks also those same days. It's going to be my busiest week ever, and I'm going to be doing Commander decks for some of the most interesting cards I found from these sets. So please stay tuned and be aware that I'm doing that, because this series has been extremely popular, and if you're a big fan of Fallout, come and see what I decided to brew with these brand new cards. In addition, you know, if you would subscribe, that would be great also. But like the other videos, I'm just going to read off the names of each of these cards because they are reprints. I don't really have to go through and explain how they're good or not. But starting out, we got Austerior Command, Crush Contraband, Dispatch, Everflowing Chalice, Farewell, Toxic Sheep Squatch, which is a Gem Razor, Glimmer of Genius, Lightning Greaves, Loyal Apprentice, Mindstone, Mystic Forge, One with the Machine, Panharmonicon, Steel Overseer, Swords to Plowshares, Talisman of Creativity, Talisman of Progress, Thirst for Knowledge, Thought Vessel, Unexpected Windfall, Wake the Past, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Whirler Rogue. Pretty cool reprints, honestly. Panharmonicon is a pretty good card, so I'm glad to get that. But now let's move on to those reprinted lands. And starting out, we have Glacial Fortress, Irrigated Farmland, Mystic Monastery, Prairie Stream, Razortide Bridge, Rustvale Bridge, Silver Bluff Bridge, Skycloud Expanse, Spire of Industry, Sulphur Falls, Temple of Enlightenment, Temple of Epiphany, and Treasure Vault. But that is it for the Fallout spoilers, and this is the last video about me talking about spoilers. Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, I've gotten so much more attention on these videos than I ever have before, and it's just been an incredible week, and that is all because of you. So thank you for watching all these videos. And if you would just help me out in another way, please comment down below what your favorite card from this set was so far. Was it a reprint? Was it a new card? You know, was it those new lands that we got after 23 years, the Signet lands or whatever? You know, there's just so many cool stuff going on in this set. You know, was there a particular art that fancied you? You know, whatever. I would just appreciate that. You know, if you got through all these videos, if you watched every one of the videos, which I think there's 6 in total, including this one, please leave a comment down below saying I watched them all, and just tell me how I did. You know, was there something you would do differently? Should I do something else or different? You know, I took some advice and tried to limit the reprint talk and also talk about that at the end. So if you were only interested in the new stuff, you got that first. So, you know, tell me, comments, you know, anything you would want to see me do in the future, because I do read those comments and I do try to, you know, do that to help please everybody. In addition, if you would just share this video with a friend, leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing. See more videos like this. Now, if you're watching this at time of recording or release, I should say, we just got a whole bunch of spoilers for Modern Horizons 3, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Bloomborough, and Assassin's Creed, and I did a video on that, so check out my channel. It's a awesome video. We got a lot of new awesome cards coming up in the sets later this year, and I'm very excited to talk about those. And if you want to see those, you know, stay subscribed so you get to see those videos as they come out. So now let's talk about today's Scryfall card of the day, which is Grazing Gladeheart. Don't be fooled. If it were as docile as it looks, it would have died off long ago. Jan Basrel, Oron Reef Survivalist. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.